Harvey Beaks to me can be best described as a rare enigma. In a time where cartoons were all about sugar-high, bouncy energy, Harvey Beaks stood amongst the crowd with its much calmer tone overall, and more story and moral-focused episodes, with some occasional exceptions. Harvey Beaks is a show that has always intrigued me, but I never actually watched it until recently. And since it's still fresh on my mind, I figured it would be a perfect enough time to kick off our new Harvey Beaks Fan Club Center channel with a look at what my personal favourite episodes of the show are. But before anything, I feel it necessary just to give out this quick disclaimer. I personally think that there is a big difference between favourite and best. And today we're going to be looking at my favourites. So for instance, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was my favourite movie that I watched in 2024. But was it the best movie that came out that year? No, I personally think the best movie that came out in 2024 was The Wild Robot. So if I do leave out some of your favourites, or what you consider to be quote-unquote the best episodes of Harvey Beaks, please just remember that at the end of the day, it's just my opinion, and I'm glad if they collide, because it means we can have an excuse just to talk about this great show. And of course, if you haven't seen the show before, there are spoilers ahead, but please do make sure that you watch it, as it is a hidden gem amongst Nickelodeon's vast catalogue of shows over the years. But with all that out of the way, let's get on with the list. Alone. Harvey really wants to play badminton the board game with all of his friends, but unfortunately they're all busy with their own things that day. Harvey tries to play the game by himself, but it just doesn't feel right. He sadly strolls along the little bark looking for something to do, and eventually finds a tree stump full of gourds, which then gives him the idea of dressing them up as his friends to replicate the feeling of them being there and keeping him company as they would normally do. This is an episode sort of unintentionally made for me, as I often find myself in lonely circumstances when I really want to let out that social butterfly. And this episode sort of helps remind me of just how much untapped potential there is of just doing things by yourself. I mean, Harvey in this predicament comes up with playing tag of all the gourds on a rope, getting some t-ball practice going, dancing under a tree, and while these activities obviously aren't as fun as doing them with real people is, Harvey is still able to get the most out of these activities for a good chunk of time. This is epitomised towards the end, where Harvey is determined to not risk breaking the Fee and Foo gourds after all the other gourds he made had come to crushing defeats, before realising just how much fun he's already had just playing with himself and the lifeless gourds through the power of imagination and creativity. Even if things don't always go as planned, you can always find a good way to spend a day with yourself. The rental bike. Foo is playing with a stick alone, but notices Harvey riding bikes with Techno Bear and Ruda. Foo gets really excited and all of a sudden wants to ride bikes with Harvey, so he takes him to Randall's Rentals to go and rent one. The owner, the grumpy raccoon Randall, lets the boys rent the bike on a discount, only for the bike to collapse into pieces seconds after leaving the store. After coming back to complain, Randall states that they should have paid extra for the bolts to attach the parts. The boys must think of another way to get a hold of a bike if they ever want to go riding together. I absolutely adore Foo. He is my favourite or second favourite character to Harvey depending on what day you ask me. So an episode that centres entirely around my two favourite characters? Yes please, it was always going to make its way onto this list. I also really like Randall. He's one of those really enjoyable to watch jerks, and he elevates any episode that he's in. Also, his ma. Don't need to say much, just his ma.
Randall, you're gonna scare these nice girls away.
Quiet, Ma! I'm sorry about her. She won't live in a home.
I raised you wrong.
The episode really explores Harvey and Foo's relationship in a way that we don't get to see too often, as this time Fee is taking a back seat while still being involved in the episode somewhat. Thus, Harvey and Foo get great character moments that you probably wouldn't have been able to see if Fee was with them, like this one.
I don't want you to go to jail. I'm the one that got you into this. You've done so much for me. You even dressed up like a really pretty girl. You were so pretty, Harvey. You're a really very good friend. But maybe I'm just more of a stick kind of guy, you know? Riding bikes sounds really cool, but not if it means getting you in trouble.
Not bad for a brain-dead character who doesn't seem to have an intelligent thought to say. And once they finally do end up getting their chance to ride the bikes down a hill, man does it feel earned. And much like a theme park ride, it may only be about 10 to 15 seconds of joy for about 20 minutes worth of waiting, but man is it still always worth it. I don't think anyone would put this episode too high on their ranking, but I love this one. It will probably always be one of my favourite episodes of the show.
Okay, you raccooned piece of dump. Do your worst.
Fee and Foo's first birthday. Shortly after Harvey's 10th birthday, the twins specify to him that they've never actually had a birthday before. So Harvey takes it upon himself to throw them a small but memorable birthday party between the three of them, and also date, I guess. The only problem is the twins invited every single resident of Little Bark to come and join the party. Harvey now has to manage all of the crazy guests at the party, while still prioritising giving Fee and Foo a birthday experience that they'll never forget. This episode is an excellent showcase of just how good of friends Fee and Foo are, and another one of those deep dives into the contrast of their personalities compared to Harvey's. Speaking of Harvey, I love how he goes all out with the hotel theme of the birthday party. Everything looks so good and definitely what a 10-year-old boy would come up with. Even in a packed social environment that deeply challenges Harvey and his OCD, he still makes sure to prioritise Fee and Foo over everything else, as they are the birthday kids after all, and after he thinks the whole party has gone down the gutter, Fee and Foo tell him through notes that they're having a whale of a time, and Harvey finally begins to stop overthinking things for the night and just go out and embrace the fun and chaos as it's all happening. I've grown up as a big perfectionist, so it's always good to have an episode of a show that reminds people like myself to just slow down and let that critical part of your brain go for a bit. Yes, it's important, but in situations like these, it's not necessary. All you need to worry about is having a grand old time. The end and the beginning. Harvey, Fee and Foo are playing Ready Spaghetti, a variation of hide and seek, and as they set off to find each other, Fee stumbles upon two figures who ask her if they have seen two babies that look a lot like her and Foo. Fee then realises that at long last she has found her and Foo's parents, and their lives, as well as their relationship with Harvey, changes forever. This is the big one, the final episode of the show, and boy does it go out with a bang. After Fee hinted at wanting parents in a previous episode, her wish gets granted, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be as grand and happy of an experience as she once might have thought. Her parents have very different upbringings and personalities compared to Harvey's parents, who by this point she has known for years and thus set a sort of expectation of what having parents would be like. But with the help of Foo and this awesome line,
They left us alone all those years.
I guess I don't see it that way. 'Cause to me, they looked for us all those years.
Fee gives in and embraces her parents, finally coming full circle with them after all those years of being apart. I know I did give a spoiler warning at the beginning of this video, so I should be able to go into detail about what happens afterwards, but to me, it's just too important and too much of a see to believe experience for me to give away too much. So I'll just leave you guys with this. We Harvey Beaks fans are very vocal about the fact that we're upset about the fact that the show got cancelled and didn't last longer than it did. But at the end of the day, we were still able to have the luxury of receiving a heartfelt and satisfying conclusion, which is something that a lot of other shows didn't get the privilege of having. The Spitting Tree. The kids are mischievously spitting down to the ground from a cliff, and Harvey seems to be surprisingly enjoying himself. The twins tell him that they can take everyone to the best place to spit in the whole forest. They convince Harvey to close his eyes and take everyone to the biggest, most tall tree in all of Little Bark, not knowing that Harvey secretly has a fear of heights. Harvey asks if they can all head back down, and Princess, being ever the bragger, volunteers to go first. She ends up having quite the crash landing and ends up breaking off all of the branches below all the kids, leaving them stuck at the top of this very big tree. This is the episode that got me on board with the show, if you ask me. I enjoyed the first episode, but this second episode, man, you can tell the creators gave their absolute all and really wanted to put a statement of intent out there on what they wanted the show to be, as well as what direction they wanted to take the cartoon industry moving forwards. Admittedly, the premise of the kids wanting to spit in cool places is pretty stupid, but that's not the main story of this episode at all. It's all about Harvey, his fears, his insecurities, and how it is all okay, and he is perfectly fine the way he is. All the other kids up the tree are not nearly as scared as he is when they get stuck up there. And when the parents come round and set up some safety leaves for them to land on, everyone gets back down with no issues. But still, Harvey can't find the courage to drop down. So what do his best friends Fee and Foo do? They go back up the tree to comfort their scared friend, telling him no matter if he wants to stay up the tree or if he wants to jump off the tree, they'll be there for him. That to me is the perfect example of pure heart-to-heart friendship. And I think because of that sentiment, it finally gives Harvey the courage to go through with jumping off the tree, even if it still feels scary. Because he knows that he has his friends back whether he goes through with it or not. And what precedes it is probably the most beautiful clip in the whole show, accompanied by some of the best music the show has to offer.
Harvey!
Open your eyes! See, Harvey? It's more fun with your eyes open! Whoa! This is awesome! Did it.
Truly special, and one of the all-time great animation masterpieces of not just Harvey Beaks, but Nickelodeon as a whole. Even though I discovered this show really late, I'm so glad that I did. Harvey Beaks has quickly become one of my favourite animated shows of all time, up there with the original Ben 10 and Avatar: The Last Airbender for me. I adore most of the characters, tolerate others, and love the childlike whimsy and adventure that's accompanied with such beautiful art, animation, and music. It just gives me such a comforting, relaxing vibe that I can't really find elsewhere. This is a truly special show, and one worth remembering for hopefully generations to come. If you or anyone you know would love to keep chatting Harvey Beaks, we have left a link to our Discord server and Reddit page for you to find us at, and hopefully keep the conversation going. My name is TJ, and thank you for checking in with the Harvey Beaks Fan Club Center. Bye bye.